2:05 on a Friday afternoon, and on the phone with me right now, one of the great iconic characters from TV, a legend, most definitely. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to be talking to the great Carol Burnett. Carol, how are you today?
I'm terrific, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and even better since I'm talking to you. I've been a fan of the show for so many years, and your show meant so much to so many people
thank you.
Down through the decades. And just looking at some of the accolades for the show. Now, the show itself ran from 67 through 78. It was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 best television shows of all time, which is quite an accolade. And you averaged some 30 million viewers per week, and the show itself receiving 25 Emmy Awards. What was it like back in those days with the cast and yourself?
Well, it was terrific. We taped our show at Television City on Friday nights, and Television City in Hollywood, and the building was absolutely packed with other variety shows. It was our show. Sonny and Cher was across the hall. Smothers Brothers were down the way. Wow. Glenn Campbell. It was just such fun. It was like a dorm. And in the 70s, there were maybe as many as 9 variety shows on the air. As the ones I mentioned, and then there was Flip Wilson and Laugh-In and Perry Como, and it was at times, during our 11-year run, we did long form sketches. Sometimes it would be 15 or 20 minutes long, and then some of the writers would want to write shorter form, so they'd go over after a while and write for Laugh-In, and then the Laugh-In folks, who did 10-second blackouts, they'd come over and write on our show.
Wow.
So it was, as I say, it was like one big dorm. It was just terrific.
Yeah, and everybody knew one another back then. But the incredible thing was your variety show was really revolutionary for a female performer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it came about really kind of oddly enough. I wasn't supposed to have this show. CBS didn't want me to do it. And I had a contract that had a clause in it, which I don't think ever happened before and certainly wouldn't happen since, that if I wanted to do a variety show, all I had to do was push the button, and CBS would have to put it on for 31-hour shows, variety shows, pay or play. And so I never thought I would ever exercise that part of the contract. But then after a while I thought, maybe I will. And so I called up CBS and said, I'd like to push that button. And they'd forgotten all about it. So they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, in the contract where I can do a variety show. And they said, well, we'll get back to you. So I'm sure they got a bunch of lawyers, out of bed that night. And they called me back the next day, the CBS vice president. And he said, yeah, well, I see that, Carol, but variety really is a man's game. And,
wow.
And he said, it's Sid Caesar, it's Milton Berle, Dean Martin, Jackie Gleason. He said, it's really not, I love this term, this was way back then, it's not for a gal.
Talk about condescending.
Yeah, totally. And I said, but that's what I know and what I love. They wanted me to do a sitcom called Here's Agnes. Can you just picture that? Anyway, and I said, but I don't want to be the same person week after week. I want to be able to do sketches. Music is my first love, to have music and guest stars and a rep company like Sid Caesar had and all. And, Joe, they had to put us on the air, and they didn't have any faith in us at all. But it worked. It worked out.
It worked out so well, and I love the camaraderie between you and Lyle Wagner and Tim Conway and Harvey Korman.
Yeah.
And even later on with Vicki Lawrence. Yeah. So talk about that. I mean, it seemed like you were so comfortable with one another.
I think, Joe, we were, I don't know, there was we were blessed right from the beginning because when we were putting the show together, and I wanted a good rep company, I wanted to have a Carl Reiner the way Sid Caesar had a Carl Reiner, or the way Jackie Gleason had Art Carney. And so we had seen Harvey Korman on the Danny Kaye show. He was Danny's second banana, as they call him. And we kept saying, gosh, we need a Harvey Korman. We need somebody like that. And as luck would have it, Danny's show went off the air, and Harvey was available.
Oh.
Now, if Danny had kept on we never would have gotten Harvey. So we got Harvey. And then I found Vicki through a fan letter. She wrote me, she was 17 and was going to be in a contest in Inglewood, California. And the letter really, I don't know, it spoke to me. And my husband and I went to the contest and met her, and she won the contest. And we were, as a coincidence, we're looking for a young girl who could play my kid's sister in a particular sketch that kind of would be a recurring sketch on our show. And we hired Vicki. And look what she turned out to be. I mean, she was just brilliant. And Lyle, we had a meeting with Carl Reiner about some ideas and everything before we went on the air, and Carl suggested that I get this handsome hunk of an announcer that I could have fun with and fawn over and stuff, And so Lyle came in, auditioned. There were all these very handsome men and stuff, but Lyle had a skewed sense of humor and a twinkle in his eye, and he didn't take himself too seriously. So he, that was great. And then Tim, of course, everybody thought he was on all the time. He was a guest.
Really?
Most of the time. For the first 8 years, we didn't have him on every week until the 9th year.
Wow. Because it's funny, looking back on the show, he was such an integral part, it seemed, in so many people's minds.
Well, he was on about every other week. I don't know why the penny didn't drop sooner, and that we, that we put him on every single week. But he also had a couple of shows of his own in the meantime while he was doing our show. And then then he came on, and it was just gold. Every time he did anything, it was pure gold.
And the chemistry just incredible for that show, one of the all-time greats. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with the late Lucille Ball.
Oh, well, Lucy, I first met her. I was in an off-Broadway show called Once Upon a Mattress, and this was 1959. And we had opened, we were off-Broadway, and we had opened the night before, and Lucy was in the audience the second night. And I think I was more nervous then that she was in the audience than I was opening night with all the critics.
I can imagine.
After the show, she came backstage to my funky little dressing room, and she called me Kid. And she said, "Kid, I really enjoyed you," and so forth. And she sat down. She sat in the dressing room. We talked for about 20 minutes. I was just in awe. And when she got up to leave, she said, "Kid, if you ever need me for anything, you give me a call."
Wow.
And so about 5 years later, as luck would have it, I was signed to CBS, and I was going to do a special, as they called them then, and if I could get a big guest star. And the producer said, "Carol, you should call Lucy." And I was too embarrassed. I said, "Oh, no, I don't want to, I'd be embarrassed." He said, "All she can do is say, 'No, I'm busy, I can't, thank you.'" And so I got up the nerve, and I called her, and she got on the phone. "Hey, Kid, how you doing? You're doing great," so forth. And I mumbled or sputtered out, "Oh, Lucy, I hate to bother you, but I'm going to be doing this special, but I know you're very busy." And she interrupted me, and she says, "Okay, when do you want me?"
Wow.
And she did the special with me. And after that, we became very good friends, and I did some of her shows, and we traded off, and then she did some of my shows. And she's a very special lady. She gave me a baby shower, but it was a black tie baby shower with men and women. And she was married at the time to Gary Morton, who was a comedian, a very nice guy. And he opened all the baby presents and did, like, bits about the baby. He did a stand-up comedy routine every time he opened one of the baby gifts. And I miss her. She died on my birthday.
How sad.
Yeah, I always got flowers from her every birthday, and she died that morning. I saw it on the news, and I was just devastated. And that afternoon, I got flowers from her.
Wow. So
Happy birthday, kid.
So even on her deathbed, she thought of your birthday.
Yeah, don't forget to send Carol some flowers, whatever. Yeah.
It's got to be the memory of a lifetime.
Oh, it is, Joe.
Well, when I look at all your awards, the Golden Globes, the Emmys, the People's Choice Awards that you won, even the Kennedy Center honors, and also the Mark Twain Prize for Humor, which of the awards, I know it's tough, but can you pick out one that's really special to you?
Wow. They're all, it's like comparing apples and oranges. They're all very special, but I think the very first one I ever got, I was a freshman at UCLA, and I was in the theater arts department, and they voted on some of the plays and actors and so forth, and I got an award as the most promising newcomer in the theater arts department at UCLA.
And for a female back then, that was quite an accolade.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Now, it's funny, looking at females down through the years in comedy, they've made strides, but they still are not at the same speed right now that men are in the comedy industry.
Well, I think they're gaining. They're gaining on them. When you look at Amy Poehler and Tina, Kristen Wiig, I mean, she's in this new hit movie. I was just reading about it this morning. She's just brilliant, and they don't look down on the females as much anymore, and they can carry movies now, which is great, and television shows. So, no, they're gaining.
So these days, you don't need a special edge because it just seems that females are getting the forum that they once never got.
That's right. And producing and directing and writing and performing, Yeah,
Carol, I also want to talk to you about a couple of recurring roles. You play a mom on a couple of contemporary TV shows, right?
Yes, that happens when you live long enough.
But it's quite an honor to be asked. And what I always say is the key to success is endurance, being able to last a long time in the public eye. And you certainly have. But you played Sue Sylvester's mom, the character Sue Sylvester, Jane Lynch's character on Glee.
Yes, I love Jane, I play her mom. I played Wendy Malick's mom on Hot in Cleveland.
Wow.
I played Helen Hunt's mom when they were doing Mad About You.
So even the younger members of the audience can relate to some of these shows,
Yeah, right.
And again, you could use your comic genius, but just in a different manner on some of those shows.
Oh, yeah, and it's fun to go and do them, but I wouldn't want to do a weekly show again.
Well, I can imagine the time and effort involved. It's just not.
Well, our show was actually, it was easy. We did, we would tape it twice on Fridays. We rehearsed Monday through Friday, tape it twice on Friday in front of two different audiences, and be out in time to go to dinner.
Wow. You had it down to a science.
All of those numbers, all of those sketches, all of the dancing, all of the guest stars, everything. We did it as if we were doing a live show, as much as possible. I never wanted to keep the audience waiting because they were they gave us our timing. And if they were enthusiastic and happy and not bored sitting around waiting for everybody to tape a show, I've done sitcom guest shots where if it's a 22-minute show, because of commercials, half-hour sitcom, they've taken as many as 5 hours to do it.
Incredible.
It just drives me crazy. It's not necessary to do that, but unfortunately the people that are doing it today never came from live television and very few from theater. So they take their time and they don't mind keeping the audience sitting there, for 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do that.
Yeah, especially back then. Today's people I think people today have such short attention spans on top of that, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you are coming to our neck of the woods next Friday. It's going to be a great show. The Kupferberg Center for the Arts at Colden Auditorium at Queens College. And it's an 8 o'clock show. Now, from the title, Laughter and Reflections with Carol.
Yep.
I would assume we'll talk about memories and just comedy in general.
And the main thing, though, it's laughter and reflection, but it's where the audience asks the questions. So I'm doing the same thing that I did at the beginning of my show all those years ago, where I come out and I throw it open to the audience. We bump up the lights, and I say, okay, what do you want to talk about? Do you have any questions, so forth? And people raise their hands, and it's all random. There are no plant questions in the audience at all. And so if somebody will raise their hand, I'll just say, yes, the gentleman there in the pink shirt or whatever, and what's your question? And so I never know what's going to happen. It's really, the evening is kind of depends on the audience because they're my partner.
I see. Boy, it can be a risque situation at times, couldn't it?
Yeah, I'm flying without a net, definitely.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've enjoyed this for so many years.
Right. Well, as I say to people, when people say, why do you do it? Well, it keeps the old gray matter ticking. You really have to be in the now. You can't be thinking about tomorrow or yesterday. You got to be on your toes, so that I can come up with an answer that not only is truthful, but hopefully will be entertaining.
Entertaining, and I'm sure you're going to have memories and talk about your show, which lasted for so many years as well, and maybe even talking about the recurring roles that you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All that will be included. The Kupferberg Center for the Arts, Queens College, next Friday, May 8th at 8 o'clock, and what a show this promises to be. Carol, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Joe.
Well, I thank you for that, but I'll tell you, I have so many great memories of your show, and it's in syndication, isn't it, in some areas as well?
Well, actually, what's happening is it has been released. The full shows have been released, because when we went into syndication, we had to cut half of the stuff out because of music. And so a couple of years ago, we released the last 6 years on DVD of the entire shows, our shows. And then coming out this fall, I'm real excited because it's never been seen, are the first 5 years. Since they've never been seen since they were first aired. And so that's going to be kind of fun, because the sketches and, there are a lot of firsts in this release. It'd be the first time we did As the Stomach Turns, for instance, the takeoff from the soap operas. The first time we did movie parodies and so forth. And so, it's kind of fun because they've never been seen. So they'll be out on DVDs. Time Life is putting them out. And that'll be in the fall.
Boy, that'd be a great trip down memory lane, including the cleaning woman that you once played as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so many great memories there. But so much to talk about, and this is why people should really go to this show. Kupferberg Center for the Arts. It's next Friday night, May 8th, at the Colden Auditorium. It's very easy to get to. Casino Boulevard in Flushing. 718-793-8080 is the box office number for tickets. The one, the only Carol Burnett, Laughter and Reflection with Carol is the title of the show. Carol, indeed, it's been a pleasure. I got to tell you, you sound the exact same you did years ago. Time has been
my goodness.
very nice to you. And yes, I mean, you sound just as enthusiastic as you were on the show. And that's a key part in having a functional and happy life, I think.
Thank you so much.
So it's been my pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday, Carol.
Okay, Joe, I hope if you come backstage and say hi.
Oh, I'd love to. It would be the memory of a lifetime for me. Thank you so much, and we all look forward to your coming next Friday.
Thank you, Joe.
Carol Burnett, the one, the only. Carol, thank you very much, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thanks, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. 2:25 here at WHLI.